Good morning, everyone. Welcome to this open day session, Build Your Bachelor of Arts. I'm Professor Anna-Marie Jargos. I'm the Dean of the Faculty of Arts and Social Sciences at the University of Sydney. If we were meeting in person, of course, we would be making an acknowledgement of country on the Camperdown campus. I'm going to invite everybody to now various distributed states where we find ourselves scattered across Greater Sydney and perhaps even Australia, standing therefore on very many different countries. I invite you to acknowledge the country where you find yourself this morning. I am in Glebe, and so I acknowledge and pay my respects to the Gadigal of the Eora Nation. It's on their ancestral lands that the University of Sydney, Camperdown and Darlington campuses are also built. I want to do a couple of things in our session today. I want to introduce you to the range of offerings inside the BA at the University of Sydney, and you can see these here. But I also want to make a few general comments about the value of a Bachelor of Arts in the 21st century. And I'll finish the session by talking specifically about the range of options that are available to you uniquely at the University of Sydney in the Faculty of Arts and Social Sciences. So here you can see a list of the undergraduate courses that we are offering in 2022 in Arts and Social Sciences, and also the combined degrees that you can combine with Arts and Social Sciences. I might just say, to starting out here, what do we mean when we say Arts and Social Sciences? Broadly speaking, subjects within these categories, which make up a Bachelor of Arts, of course, deal with ideas around identity and what it means to be human. And the arts, sometimes also called the humanities, include subjects like English, history, philosophy, art history, languages, visual arts, performing arts, media and communications. And the social sciences also focus broadly on what it means to be human, but take a more scientific approach. You would find in the social sciences disciplines like economics, politics and international relations, archaeology, anthropology, sociology, criminology, linguistics, and so on. So this talk will focus on the BA, the big degree structure, the Bachelor of Arts. But inside the Bachelor of Arts are all these arts and social science subjects. For more information on some of those, you can attend one of our other talks, and I'll put up some information about that at the end of the session, or you can visit us online at the Course Advice Centre. The important thing for me to emphasise at this stage is that at Sydney, one of the very attractive aspects of our BA is that you can customise it to a high degree to suit your own interests. And as it is indicated on this tile, you can combine a BA with a range of other qualifications. So I said I wanted to make a few comments about the general value of the Bachelor of Arts in the 21st century. Why I want to do this is because for some, the Bachelor of Arts has been a devalued qualification. We've even had our own Minister of Education recently suggesting that graduate opportunities for students in some BA subjects are lower than for students in science subjects. I'm happy to say that the government's own data and own statistics prove that this is incorrect. But more importantly, we are seeing very strongly across a range of employer groups that the values associated with the Bachelor of Arts are very, very highly valued by those employers. When we think about what the top skills are for the future world of work, and I'm referring here to the World Economic Forum, a recent report that they put out, identifying these top 10 skills, we see a high degree of correlation between the graduate outcomes for the Bachelor of Arts and these very desirable skills. Skills like analytic thinking, complex problem solving, leadership and social influence, reasoning and problem solving. These skills are skills that are identified as graduate outcomes with the Bachelor of Arts, and they transfer very, very readily to the workplace. We live in very changing times, rapidly accelerating times. A lot of research is showing that the kinds of employment opportunities that will be available to graduates are sometimes quite different, even than those that were available when they first enrolled to study. In 3 years' time, employment statistics and trends are changing. And one of the things that I think is important for us to think about is how prepared are our graduate students to go out into the workforce, equipped to deal with some of the greatest challenges of our time. I've listed a few here on the tile, and perhaps you can think of others. But my point is that the graduate attributes of the BA equip students to deal with a range of issues that are vital for us to think about in our social circumstances. To take just one, perhaps slightly random example, obesity. Now, it might be quite reasonable to think if you really want to focus on solving or advancing issues associated with obesity, surely you would enroll in a medical qualification, if not a science one. And while those are very valuable qualifications, and obviously we always hope that we will have students going into a range of different interests, I'd point out that no medical solution on its own will solve the problem of obesity. Obesity depends significantly on changing individual behaviour, as well as secondary healthcare and other aspects of social behaviour that actually arts and social science students are trained to think about closely. Humanities graduates are very well equipped to succeed in these kinds of environments with the mix of skills that they bring to issues at hand. For example, we can see that arts and social science graduates in Australia are greatly overrepresented in the very senior ranks of not just the government and public sectors, but also in the corporate world. And this is something we see not just in Australia, but globally. The skills developed in an arts and social science degree are essential for effective senior leadership, particularly those around communication, persuasion, empathy, cultural competence, and these are the core attributes of an arts degree. I must say that I did enjoy last year when we were getting a little bit of negative description of the BA coming out of Parliament, to note that the BA is the most common degree held by politicians in Australia today. One of the other things I want to emphasise here, in addition to the particular subjects that you can study at Sydney and the kinds of graduate attributes that are acquired through those, and when I say graduate attributes, I mean the kinds of things that our students can do when they graduate. The other thing I want to emphasise is what we would call work integrated learning. How at Sydney we connect study to the real world beyond the campus. And perhaps it wouldn't be inappropriate for me to reflect that when I went to university, quite some decades ago now, in the mid-1980s, very much my BA study was spent on campus and learning out of books. And it was only as I graduated out of the university situation that I had to think practically about how did what I learn equip me to function in the world. I'm happy to say that that situation has transformed dramatically. And at the University of Sydney, we value this notion of work integrated learning. And so while our students, even our undergraduate students, are studying on campus, we are connecting them in a variety of ways with the world of employment and getting them to think in authentic ways about how what they are learning applies in the world. So internships and placements would be an obvious way to do that. And I think that's a familiar concept for most of us. Students take a short period of time where they go and work in an on-the-job experience. And that's a sort of that practical experience is an important part of some of our degrees, particularly, say, media and communications. But we also, in class, set what we think of as authentic assessment that is more than just writing an essay, but actually engaging with a problem, sometimes a problem that one of our industry or community or non-government partners might have defined and described for us. And we also have a whole range of career support mechanisms available for students right from their first year to think about how they will present themselves and the skills they are learning in a competitive employment context. So let's think about the Bachelor of Arts as we offer it at Sydney. I've said, I've said that one important aspect of it is the degree to which we are able to customise the degree. That is the degree to which students can choose their pathway through a very large number of subject areas in order to really customise a degree that suits their interests, their expertise, and their qualification. So I'm just going to mention a couple of terms, and before I finish this session, I'm pretty confident that you will understand what I'm talking about, even if you're not quite sure right now. I'm going to use the notions of a major and a minor, and I'll explain that a little bit more technically towards the end of the session. But for now, and I appreciate that many of you will understand what a major and a minor is, but in case some don't, inside the BA, which is a 3-year degree, you have clusters of subjects such as economics or French or sociology or art history. And a major basically means you have done a large number of those units of study, and a minor means you've done a small number of them. So they're little kind of like sub-qualifications sitting inside your BA, and you can do a double major, for example, and I'll explain the sort of the architecture of that a little bit later on. My point here, though, is that you can tailor your education and your knowledge base across multiple majors and minors at Sydney. We offer in the Faculty of Arts and Social Sciences nearly 50 different subject areas. You could learn a new language, you can explore literature, different ideas from different historical traditions. The Bachelor of Arts will really expand your horizons and I think challenge you to think outside the square. And while you study those particular subjects, and I'm saying here on the slide, there's kind of hundreds of combinations available. And obviously you would be learning very particular things. If you major in French, you'll be learning a whole language. If you major in archaeology, you'll be learning a social science and a particular way to approach history. But along the way, you also develop what I was calling those graduate attributes. And whether you study French or whether you study archaeology or indeed any of the majors available through the BA, all of our students will develop skills in leadership, in communication, in critical and independent thinking, and they will be able to form and articulate persuasive arguments based on evidence. Importantly, they will learn to understand what it means to be human in the 21st century. And our hope is that the way we are teaching now at Sydney means that those skills will be future-proofed. That is, they will not only attach to the Frenchness or the archaeology-ness, but in fact, they will be transferable skills that will help our students when they graduate in whatever field of life they follow. So I'm certainly not going to read out this list of subject areas that you can study in the Bachelor of Arts. But I am going to say that we offer one of the most comprehensive ranges of arts and social science subjects in Australia, and we're very proud that we do. We've got flexible degrees, as I've said, that are highly customisable, and they prepare students for a broad range of careers and a future full of possibilities. Now here, this list, over 45 subject areas, or as I said earlier, majors in the arts and social sciences alone, from American studies to writing studies alphabetically. But along the way, I think you can see the huge sort of range of different types of things. Some very traditional subjects that you would expect to see, linguistics, politics, English, philosophy. But some things that aren't that common to be offered, modern Hebrew, for example, Korean studies, cultural studies as a distinctive major, a minor in Sanskrit, visual arts. So a huge kind of range of things that you can do. And remember, you don't do all of one. You pick and choose across these options. We think of this list in the university, we refer to this list as Table A because it stands for the arts. And so we say, oh, you can, pick from Table A. Here are these nearly 50 subjects. But that's not all that you can do, because we also have what we think of as Table S, the shared table. So one of the commitments that Sydney has made to flexibility and customisation of degree is that a student enrolling in the Bachelor of Arts must take a major from Table A, but they can also, if they choose, take a minor or indeed a second major from Table S. And Table S has subjects, as you can see here, offered from our other faculties, that is outside arts and social sciences. So you can see here architecture, design and planning, for example, but medicine and health also, science, business and so on. And so this is an example, I think, of the degree to which our students can really follow their interests and their passions. A student might, for example, take history as the major in the Bachelor of Arts, and still in the Bachelor of Arts take their second major in, for example, applied medical science or chemistry or accounting or banking. So I'm emphasising that, I guess, to show both the structure of the degree at Sydney, but also the high degree of individual customisation that it allows. Excuse me. I'm guessing that most people are very familiar with the notion of a BA. It's a long-standing degree with a lot of historic credibility behind it. At the University of Sydney since 2018, we have also offered the Bachelor of Advanced Studies. And I think this will be less familiar to people because it's new, but I want to say a few things about it. First of all, it's a 4th year added on to the 3-year degree. So the Bachelor of Arts is a 3-year degree. If you enroll in the Bachelor of Arts, Bachelor of Advanced Studies, you have a 4th year of education. And inside the Bachelor of Advanced Studies, there are 2 distinctive pathways. And again, I think one might be more familiar to people than others. The one that I suspect is familiar is the honours pathway. If students meet a certain threshold of achievement across the BA in their major, they will be eligible to take honours in the 4th year. And this is a research intensive year, a complete focus on a particular subject area, a major essentially, for a 4th year through coursework and also a substantial thesis under individual supervision. And that research pathway at the honours level or the Bachelor of Advanced Studies level, the 4th year, one outcome possibly of that is a pathway to the PhD. Alternately, it's a research intensive completion to an undergraduate degree. But not all of our students who go into the Bachelor of Advanced Studies want to be research intensive, want to focus in a research intensive way on a single major or subject. And there is another substantial pathway in the Bachelor of Advanced Studies, and this is advanced coursework. It allows students to extend the learning that they have done in their major. They get access to higher level units of study. And they also gain advanced disciplinary and cross-disciplinary skills. There's a required project in which students apply the disciplinary skills that they've acquired to a real-world context, working with other students, often from different disciplinary groups. And in this year, we concentrate the benefits from our extensive network of industry and community partners. And the fourth year features a lot of case studies and indeed guest teaching from external partners. I'll show a little bit later towards the end of the session the way in which a student could also use that coursework strand of the Bachelor of Advanced Studies as an opportunity to turn one of their minors into a major. So it's kind of like I almost think of it as like a BA on vitamins in that coursework strand, allowing students to really benefit from a rich immersion in their subject, but also to take advantage of things that are not in their subject, that are not in their major. And in a little moment, I'll show you a kind of a graph that will give you a sense of what that might look like. Okay, another thing that's very distinctive to Sydney and also introduced in 2018, I should say that in 2018, we launched our transformed undergraduate curriculum. So we had been working on that for 3 or 4 years and launched it in 2018. It's been enormously successful and we are just starting to graduate the first students who enrolled in that transformed degree. So if I keep saying that there are a number of new things from 2018, that's why. One of these things is the DL Scholars Program. Now, this is a program that is accessible to high achieving students, as you can see there on the last line on the slide, students who've achieved an ATAR of 98 or above, or for students from our alternate pathways, 95 and above. It's a program that right from the very first year of the undergraduate study cultivates leadership and professional expertise in our students. It's named after actually one of University of Sydney students, Elsie Jean DL, who was a distinguished medical graduate, actually the first full-time female academic in the Faculty of Medicine, and famous for the pioneering work she did in childhood diseases. So that's why it's called DL, in case you wondered. DL scholars, right from the moment they set foot on campus, or at the moment learning virtually, have access to distinctive DL units of study that no other students have access to. They also get accelerated learning options, and they're allowed to have early access to senior units of study. And they have access to specialised language programs in the Bachelor of Arts. We wrap a very comprehensive mentoring and professional skill development program around the DL scholars. And for such times as when our national borders will open again, you'll see that there is a mobility scholarship that enables our students to travel and study overseas. Entry is by invitation or UAC preference, depending on the course you want to apply for. And I should also say, not all courses are DL eligible, but it might be something that's of interest to you to think about. And the last thing that I'm going to talk about as distinctive to the Bachelor of Arts at the University of Sydney, excuse me, is this open learning environment, which we refer to often as just the OLEs. OLEs are short, on-demand learning modules and workshops, and they're designed to broaden your skill set and extend your knowledge as you explore other fields. You'll see here at the bottom of the slide that I say that they're available as 0, 2, and 6 credit point units. And I just want to say a little bit more about that. I've already described how a major is a sort of a subject area that you concentrate on and spend most time on studying. And each unit in a major is a semester-long 13-week study in a particular area. Usually a 13-week unit is a 6 credit point unit. So just to give you an idea, a student would generally do 4 such units of study in every semester, and each of them would be worth 6 credit points. So a lot of our OLEs, however, are worth 2 credit points. So they're quite small in relation to the usual subject. And students in the BA must do 12 credit points of these OLEs. And lots of our students would do 6 2-credit point versions of them. And the important thing to know is that the idea is that they're kind of like almost bite-sized samplings of expert knowledge that is not close to the kind of work you generally do in the BA. So for example, our students might enroll in an OLE that teaches them business entrepreneurship skills. You know, they might think, oh, I'd just like to know a little bit about that. And they'll be taught by experts from our business school. Or for example, you might want to know something about an OLE around the science of health, even though you're a French and a history student. So the idea is that we're making very, very high quality, small, almost snackable chunks of knowledge from other disciplines that you're not necessarily enrolled in available to our students. It's a very popular aspect of the new degree. As I'm sort of drawing towards the end of the presentation, I just want to, as I indicated to you before, get into a few of the kind of technicalities, if you like, about how a BA and a Bachelor of Advanced Studies gets structured. And I just want to sort of talk you through this little graphic representation here. So here's a sort of a visualization, if you like, of the BA for a student who's doing a major in digital cultures and a minor in politics. Okay, so we already know a major is when you concentrate a lot of subjects in that area, and a minor is when you do less than that. Now I can say a major requires you to do a major requires you to do 8 6-credit point units of study across the degree. And here in the image, you can see, reading from top to bottom, you can see these 3 years chunked out one after the other. In year 1, we can see the student takes 2 pieces of digital culture units. Maybe if you read right across year 1 to year 3, you see these 8 blue blocks, and you can see, oh, okay, the student has done 8 units of study in digital cultures, and they've done them to a particular pattern too, not randomly. They've done 2 subjects in the first year, 2 subjects in the second year, and 4 subjects in the third year. And that is a very common pattern, of a required pattern of doing the major. 2, 2, 4, we would refer to that as. And for the language units, it's often 2, 3, 3. But most of our arts and social science majors are defined in this way: 2 in first year, 2 in second year, and 4 in year 3. And then you'll see across the bottom of the page here, the student has got these 6 units, the sort of salmon coloured, which is standing in for politics in this instance. And that lets you know that a minor is 6 units of study. So that's the difference between a major and a minor, essentially. 2 third-year units would turn a minor into a major. And then, because every year a full-time student would be expected to do 8 units of study, 4 in first semester and 2 in second semester generally, although we also offer intensive sessions in mid-semester teachings and some summer schools and so on, but I'm just going to talk practically in terms of the 2 semesters just for ease. You can see that this student has come in their first semester of their first year. They've done 2 units in their major in digital cultures. They've got this grey unit, which is a core unit. It's not core to the major, it's core to the BA. And every single student who does the BA at the University of Sydney does this unit in the first semester of their enrolment. So across a year, we teach more than 1,000 students this very important unit, studying arts and social sciences. It situates for students what it means to study arts and social sciences, and also what it means to study at university, which is quite different from what it means to study at high school. And we use this unit, this little grey box here, the Studying Arts and Social Sciences, not just to teach students how to be able and effective arts and social science scholars, but we also use that 13 weeks of training to transition students very, very strongly from, often from high school, but sometimes just from outside university, into university life and university studying patterns, but also university extracurricular life. And I just want to say a couple of things about this, because this is the first year that we have offered this unit, and we're going to continue to offer it. I mean, this is just the first year we have offered it. We've had amazingly great feedback from our students, but I just want to say a little bit about why we've made a quite strong decision to require every student in the BA to do this one particular unit, especially because I started off this session emphasising how committed we are to the customisation, the flexibility, allowing students to choose their own way. And then here we say, and here's one unit, a core unit that is compulsory for everybody. It's because research increasingly shows us that some students struggle to make the transition into university and into university study. And because most of our units of study are completely energised about telling students the particularities of that unit of study, if you enrol in a unit called Cyber Worlds, you'll learn all about cyber worlds. If you enrol in a unit called Key Concepts in Political Thought, that's what you will learn. We started to realise, where do we teach students how to be effective, healthy, successful university students? And rather than scatter that information across every single unit, we made this sort of bold decision to offer a particular unit that couples how to be an arts and social science student with a lot of very practically oriented tips about how to use the library well, how to know what kind of sources of help and support are available to you at the university, even things around how to take effective notes, how to know when you've read enough, who do you go to when you've got a question. And we have found that the students both responded, even though some students kind of moaned to say, oh, do we really have to do something like that? You know, I'd rather choose another subject that I'm interested in. We've had the student assessment results back now for 2 iterations of this unit, and they are incredibly, incredibly high. So we're feeling very happy about that, and feeling that we're giving our students a very good jump off point for their university careers. So alongside the major and the minor and the core unit, you'll also see that this student has done the equivalent of 12 credit points in yellow in the open learning environment space. And from what I've said earlier, you might know that that is not necessarily 2 units, it might be actually 6 2 credit point units, but it's equivalent to 2 blocks of 6. And then all that white space is the space that students have where they can choose subjects at their will to fill up the space of the BA. So I've spent a bit of time on that, but I think it's worthwhile for, that's often the most complicated thing for prospective students to understand, is how do I structure this BA? You know, is it just, do I just enroll at the start and do it, or, you know, what do I get to choose? So I'm going to explain one more instance, which is the Bachelor of Arts with the Bachelor of Advanced Studies. So that's the one I spoke about earlier. Remember, when you add a 4th year onto your BA. Now, this student has got a major in cultural studies, and you can see that again in the sort of the mid-blue colour across year 1, 2 and 3. And also an American Studies minor in the BA with those first 6 tiles ending in year 3. But you'll see they've done what I described earlier in year 4. They've taken another couple of American Studies units, those salmon coloured ones at the bottom, and they've therefore used that fourth year to turn their American Studies minor into a major. And so they will graduate with a double major in Cultural Studies and American Studies. And then they've used a considerable part, half of their fourth year, to do advanced coursework in their major of Cultural Studies. And you'll see it's mixed between advanced coursework and project work. And they still have a couple of electives where they get to, choose again freely what they want to do from a range of subjects. So that would be an example of a student who's done the coursework option of year 4. If the student had chosen an honours year, that whole year 4, that entire column would be blocked out to the same subject as the major. In this instance, that student would have done a Cultural Studies honours year, which would have been a substantial thesis and a couple of coursework units. Okay. So something that people are always pretty interested in around ATAR levels to get into the university. And here's a chart which shows you the guaranteed ATAR for 2022 for a range of our different programs. You'll see that for the Bachelor of Arts and the Bachelor of Arts, Bachelor of Advanced Studies, the ATAR entry is 80. And then higher entries for a range of different programs or streams. So the DL Scholars, which I spoke about earlier, but also streams in international and global studies, languages, media and communications, and politics and international relations. And if you're interested in the ATAR issues, I've got the URL at the bottom of the page there for further online information, if that's something you would be interested in doing. Now, my last slide here, there's a lot of different Faculty of Arts and Social Sciences talks being offered today, and you can see the time and topics here, a range of large sort of clusters: languages and cultures, social and political sciences, economics, education, literature, arts and media. And then at 11 o'clock, a sort of a general humanities in action. I spoke earlier about addressing some of the pressing problems of our time, and here's a talk which will show some of the practically oriented ways in which arts and social sciences address human, animals, and the environment, issues facing those. At the very bottom of that page, I've got another URL for Open Day, and if you've got particular questions that we can't pick up in the remaining minutes of this session, I would definitely encourage you to chat with staff in the Course Advice Centre, which you can access through that URL. Okay, I think we've got a few more minutes before this sort of session closes. I see that we've got a large number of questions up on the Q&A board, which is great. I think I might stop screen sharing there and just stop distracting everybody with that tile, and I'll have a quick look at some of the questions here. There's a good question here about, given the unusual circumstances facing HSC students this year, what sort of flexibility is there on entry requirements for the arts degree? Is the ATAR of 80 still to be the minimum? Which is a very good question. After yesterday's announcement, we know that an awful lot of people are asking questions about this. I think one of the things I can do here is just put up on the, let me see where I am, trying to put something in the chat board here. We've got a whole page up. Yeah, I'll just It's a curse of multitasking. I'm just putting up on the chat board there the link which will take you to the page that we've put up specifically around questions around the impact on the 2021 HSC, since the recent announcements mean that there's a lot of questions in relation to this. First of all, I want to say we won't be changing the minimum requirements, but there are a lot of questions being asked here, and what I would like to say is we really understand how difficult the last 2 years have been for high school students, very challenging, very, uniquely difficult circumstances. And we nevertheless recognise the importance of the HSC as other qualifications, the IB, for example. We're not making significant changes to entry assessment, but we are reviewing how we can best support Year 12 students who might be disadvantaged by disruption to their studies and the COVID-19 lockdown. And if you have a look at that page, you'll see some quite specific information around what we're doing in relation to that. Okay, what other kinds of questions can I see here? This is one of the things about being a presenter, is you don't really get time to look at the board while they're going past. Someone's asking, if you're majoring in international relations and therefore take a minor in a chosen language, could you still do another major? That's a good question. I'm going to guess no. I think you would run out of spaces in your degree planner. But those 2 tiles that I showed where you can sort of slot in your units across the 3 or 4 years of your program, I'd really recommend that you do that for yourself to see what sort of space you've got left. If you were doing a Bachelor of Advanced Studies, you would find that you could probably transform your minor into a second major, as in that example that I showed you. Someone's asked, how is Advanced Studies different to a double degree? A good question. Advanced Studies is entirely inside the Bachelor of Arts. So it's an extended Bachelor of Arts experience, whereas a double degree would combine the Bachelor of Arts with another completely separate degree. And I gave a few examples of that early on, where I emphasised that, the Bachelor of Arts, for example, can be combined with law. It can be combined with a Bachelor of Social Work, with nursing, with medicine, even with engineering. So that's to put 2 degrees together, whereas the Bachelor of Advanced Studies is to extend both in terms of sort of time, obviously, but also in level of not seniority, what's advanced sort of studies, like at a higher level. I guess that's what I'd say. What would I say makes the University of Sydney BA stand out or unique to other unis? I don't want to make a kind of a fatuous claim here. I'm sure that the BA in other universities would also be defended vigorously by other universities, as it properly should be. I would say, though, that we have a number of quite unique characteristics, as I say, that we introduced in 2018, and they would be largely around things like the OLE, the emphasis on work-integrated learning and so forth. But a claim I would make for the Sydney BA is it offers one of the most comprehensive list of subject areas than any Australian university. Can you do a Bachelor of Arts Advanced Studies and be part of the DL Scholars Program, or is this not possible? No, this is very possible. Yesterday, actually, I went to one of the DL lectures, and I'm lecturing to that same group of students next Friday, and very many of them are Bachelor of Arts Advanced Studies students. So that's a common and desirable outcome. The DL Scholar Program sounds great. If we don't have those ATARs, can you still access the exclusive courses some other way? The answer is no. Actually, you can't. The whole point of those units are that we really have designed them for that cohort, and the exclusiveness of that is sort of part of what gives them their appeal. But there's certainly many other options, other subjects that you could take if you wanted. Excuse me. I heard the Atar requirement has been dropped due to COVID for visual arts. Is this true? No, that sounds like a wild rumour. I wonder whether that rumour is based in the notion that for some of the visual arts degrees, the Bachelor of Visual Arts, we ask for a portfolio submission in addition to an Atar requirement. I wonder if that's how that rumour has got some legs. I think we're coming reasonably close to concluding. I'm sort of in the hands of my student mentor, Sam, who will no doubt spring in at some point and close us off. Perhaps
Anna-Marie,
yep.
I might just add as well, so I've been furiously answering as many questions as I can in the Q&A box during this talk. Most of these questions would be very well directed towards our academic staff who are available in the Course Advice Centre. So if we haven't gotten to your question, don't worry, there are plenty of staff who will be here online until 2 p.m. Who are ready and very willing to give you some personalised advice. If you head back to the Open Day website, you'll notice along the top menu, there's a link called Course Advice. And if you click on that one, you'll be able to find all of the various rooms where you can locate our friendly academic staff to have to continue your conversations. So the vast majority of questions that I'm seeing come through can be addressed in those rooms as well. So please do feel free to head there after this session.
A good reminder, Gillian, because I see with my endless scrolling that I will never get through. I'll never get through all of these questions, but as Gillian's pointing out, we actually have subject experts, i.e. academics or academics who teach in those subjects, or the professional staff who support them, available to answer your questions very specifically. And it's always very useful to talk to the people who are actually going to be teaching you. It's very effective to get that information sort of live from the people who are responsible for teaching and designing the curriculum that you will study. Perhaps, yes, I'm just sort of scrolling through more of those questions and seeing that they are all very particular mostly to particular subject areas. Someone's asked if a student does the 4th year of advanced studies and not honours, and then they want to continue their studies beyond the 4th year, are they eligible to go directly into a master's course? Again, it would really depend on what they had done in their advanced studies year and which master's course they were going into, which I suppose is only reinforcing Gillian's point that we really need to have a greater level of specificity to answer some of these questions. I've been speaking quite generally about the BA and the kind of affordances that it offers. But perhaps I will draw to a close by thanking you for coming. We've had, it's usually, obviously, Open Day would be a live in-person event on campus, often one of the most sort of, festive feeling days of the university year. And colleagues have worked very hard to translate it into an interactive and engaging platform virtually. So I thank all of those of you who turned up this morning to hear about our BA. I hope that you will follow some of the links I've offered to you and that Gillian has directed you to get further information. Otherwise, I wish you all the best with your studies next year, whatever you choose, subject-wise and institution-wise. I know those decisions are not easy, and I wish you and your families the best of luck with making the best decisions for you. Thanks very much.